track and field parents. This is the 2022 track and field parent information meeting video. So for those of you who couldn't attend the live meeting, I wanted to make sure that I had something that you could go off of and sort of get an idea of what went on at the meeting. There are just a few things that I really wanted to cover to make sure that you had an understanding of what to expect from the season and what your daughter can expect to see at practice and how to be prepared for practice. So I'll take you through a few slides and we can kind of go from there. First off, what I did at the meeting is I kind of opened up with a few introductory points and then I introduced the staff. So I'll take you through some of what I talked about there. I first of all want to remind you that I want to very much express my gratitude to all of you for taking a look at this video and for all of those that did attend and are maybe watching again just to catch some of the things that they might have missed. I really appreciate that as well. So my name is Mark Langle and I am the head track and field coach for the girls team. I also serve as an assistant on the boys team, and I generally specialize in sprints and the long jump event. I also teach at St. Mary's Prep. I teach AP World History, and I represent the Social Studies Department as the department chair. And I am a co-mentor of a student organization called Catholic Athletes for Christ, where we try to put athletics in perspective under our faith, always putting our worship and praise of the good Lord first. The first point that I want to share with you today is, as a graduate of St. Mary's Prep in the class of 2000, I know that St. Mary's is a special place, but I know it's not easy for everyone. And so I'd like to open up myself to be there for you as parents, but also for your daughters. If they have any questions about academics or about athletics, I'd like to be a resource that they could come to, and hopefully I would be able to give them some guidance. The first point that I want to reiterate on top of that is that I kind of take a little bit of a different approach to coaching than maybe some of the coaches that you may have experienced in the career or athletic endeavors of your daughter. I want to win, of course, but to me, there are so many greater things that you can take from track and field. There's so many more important lessons that you can take from this sport and other sports as well. It's about, really, for me, the process of becoming a team, and it comes down to really building a program. We're a group of freshmen and sophomore girls, and so my goal this year is to really build our program, to try and build a team of sisters that want to work together, that get along, that are great friends, and can kind of improve as athletes. So applying the lessons of track and field, like hard work, perseverance, overcoming obstacles, mental and physical toughness, and of course, putting faith first in our everyday lives. Those are the lessons. Those are the process. That is the process that I really want our athletes to take from being part of this team. And it's really about where a team member starts and then how much they improve, rather than how many events we win or how many races they win. It's really about kind of charting that improvement for me. I really love that part of track because, you can get somebody on a watch and you can time them. You can measure how far they jump, and you can really have measurable and attainable results that you can chart throughout the year. So not only do I want your daughters and the student athletes at St. Mary's Prep on the track and field team to become better athletes, I think more important, through the process of learning and going through some of our mottos on the team, I think we're going to try to develop better students, better leaders, better daughters, the best sisters and friends, and really just overall people that we can have in our community and our environment. I'd like to take a moment just to talk about some of the individuals that you're going to hear about on our coaching staff. First of all, once again, I'm Coach Langle and I coach the sprinting events. So the 100 meter and the 200 meter are the events that I specialize in. And then, of course, the relays that are related to sprints, which would be the 4x100 meter relay and the 4x200 meter relay. And then I also coach the long jump event. So that's the field event that I generally specialize in. One of my big mentors is Coach Klaus. Coach Klaus, Mr. Sean Klaus, is the head boys track and field coach. And he's a legendary coach at St. Mary's Prep. He has 2 state championships. He was the head coach when I ran track at St. Mary's, and was one of the big reasons that I was able to run track at the college level. He specializes in hurdles. He's a great hurdling coach. He's had multiple state champions in that event, and he also coaches the high jump. So he's been a really great mentor to me, and I've been an assistant on his staff for those two state championships, and for about 15 years now, I've been an assistant on his staff, coaching the sprinters and the long jumps. I want to welcome Coach Barbara. Coach Barbara to our staff she's already had a really big impact on our team. She brings a great deal of wisdom and excellent focus to our program. She's going to be working with the sprinting group alongside of me this year. So I'm really excited to have her. And she's been a great help noticing different small details about our movements and just some of the words that the girls might say, the mental focus, the saying I can't, and she's correcting them, hey, let's take that out of our vocabulary because we can, so those are really great things that I've noticed, and I'm really fortunate to have her on our staff. I also want to welcome Coach Nick Gisha. Mr. Gisha is really a rising star at St. Mary's Prep. I'm really proud to have taught him in class in world history, and he brings just a great role model to our coaching staff. He's going to be working with the middle distance athletes, so that's going to be the 400 meter and the 800 meter events. That's going to be 1 lap or 2 laps. And then, of course, there's the 4x400 meter relay, and then the 4x800 meter relay, where some of those 800 meter runners will come from the mid distance, and some of those 800 meter runners will come from the distance group as well. I also want to talk about Coach Hendrick. Coach Hendrick is another huge part of our track program. This year he's a welcome back status because he's been coaching baseball, but he was a key member of our 2 state championships back in 2015 and 2016. And I had to go out and steal him from the baseball staff. So the baseball program's pretty upset with me about that. But I really just want to welcome him back. And he's going to be working with his specialty, which is the distance. So he's going to coach the little bit of the 800, the mile and 2 mile. And of course, we'll help facilitate with Coach Gisha the 4x800 as well. We have our throwing coach is Coach Widows. Coach Widows is another alumni. So you have multiple graduates of St. Mary's Prep on our staff, which is always a good sign. It tells you that there's people who love the place and love what they do. But Coach Widows is a great man of faith. He's a teacher. He has head coaching experience in track and field and head coaching experience in football as well. So he coaches the throws for us. Right now I've got about 5 or 6 throwers, which is really good. That's a really good number. And I think we're going to score some points there as we go along. Okay, I do want to talk briefly about practice. First of all, I'll talk about the times that we're going to have practice every day, and then a couple of important points about how practice runs. But we're going to have practice every day after school. We will start at 2:50. That's a quick turnaround for the girls. So they have to get out at 2:35, hustle over, get changed. I expect them to be out on the field or track outside at 2:50. So they've got 15 minutes. So they really have to manage their time. The reason for that is because we've got soccer coming on the field, and then we've got lacrosse coming on the field. So we kind of have to be out of there by 4:15. We've got to be off the field and onto the field events. And then our practice will end around 4:30. Now, I will say that 4:30 is kind of a rough estimate. There's going to be some days, like if I'm working with relay athletes or we're working with field events and we really need to get something down, we may go a little bit later. We may go a little bit earlier. So it's going to be around 4:30, but give us a little bit of flexibility with that. It could go 10, 15 minutes late, could be 10, 15 minutes early on certain days as well. Okay. If there is by chance an online Friday, I think there are a few scheduled for the second semester. We'll begin at 12:30. I know that puts a lot of pressure on you as parents when your student is home and you may be at work. So look, I'm going to be flexible. I totally understand. I'm a parent myself. My daughters aren't in high school, but I understand. I know it is a lot to get your children here and there. So, I would just ask to let me know if you can't make it. I will certainly share at the end my email address. And in the emails that I've sent out, I also shared my phone number. So feel free to text me. Let me know who you are and who your athlete is, or email me, whatever that may be. But I would like to really hold our online Friday practices from 12:30 to 1:45. I think there's only 2 or 3 of those that will impact us. And one of those days we have a track meet. So the girls, we start a track meet at Saginaw Valley on the March of 25th at noon. So they're going to probably get out of some of their classes that day, and we'll take a bus there to get there to the meet on time. If by chance they have a day off of school, we will still have practice. Or if by chance we need to work in a Saturday practice, the standard time would be 9 a.m. to 10:30, unless otherwise noted. One thing I'll say about practice is it's really important to be there. Um, you take a day or two off, and you could really lose a little bit of conditioning in track. Track and field is a conditioning sport. The body needs to be in tune. It needs to be stretching. You don't want to get tight taking a day off. So I really want to encourage you to help me in the process of getting your student athlete to come to practice every day. I understand that there are young ladies that have dance and have gymnastics. I also understand that there are some that are playing club volleyball, and some are very few. I wanted to keep the number of athletes playing multiple sports down, but we do have a few that are going to be playing soccer and running track. So, I am encouraging students to do multiple sports. I just want to make sure that they're able to come to our practice and be committed to the team. I totally get it if they're going to miss a day here and there, maybe 2 days they miss in a week. As long as I know about it and you give me some heads up, I'd like to try and work through that as best I can. I just really want to let you know that it's important to be there, and it's a good team atmosphere to make sure that everybody's at practice. Next thing I want to talk about, I want to go into some extensive talk about what the athletes are going to need on a daily basis. We will be outside starting on Monday, March 14th. We will go outside. And so I want to talk about the attire and the equipment that they're going to need on a daily basis. First of all, I would strongly suggest a gym bag. A lot of the girls use a backpack, which is great. So anything that will keep things concealed so it's not going to fall out. It's not going to, they're not going to get confused. Make sure that it's their bag. You'd be surprised at the stories that you might hear as a teacher and a coach. So having a bag with everything put in one spot is, I think, imperative. Second, you got to have a pair of running shoes, right? You got to have a pair of running shoes if you're a track athlete. So I want to encourage you to think about the fact that they're going to be putting a lot of pounding on their feet, on their ankles, on their legs. And that shock absorption starts with the foot. And so the shoe is important. I don't have a specific brand that I endorse. It doesn't have to be the most expensive shoe. What I would say is, I like these style that are low cut below the ankle. These are running shoes that have a little bit of comfort and a lot of support. Lightweight shoes, I think, are always advantageous to runners. But, certainly I would suggest when you go to a big box store like a Dunham's or a Dick's Sporting Goods, or if you're going to a specialty running store, ask for help. Ask somebody to kind of guide you to, the type of shoes. See if they'll size you up. Maybe they might have a foot analysis machine that they can tell you kind of, hey, this is the type of shoe that we would suggest based on the imprint of your foot, so on and so forth, the arch, the degree of your arch. So those are some things that I'm not an expert on, but some of the sales associates are pretty good that I've talked to. I've done a little bit of research. I'm going to some of the places to try and help advise you on what to ask and what to do. So hopefully some of those things will be helpful. So on top of the running shoes, I call these your run flats. You need these every day. When we're training at practice, 90% of the time, I'll ask them to be in their running shoes, which are these style here. About 10% of the time, and on meet days, I'll have them wear the track spikes. Track spikes are imperative to working your times down and running faster. So track spikes are on top of your run flats or your running shoes. So whether you're a sprinter or a distance runner, they have different types of spikes. So your distance spikes would look more like this. They got a little bit of padding in the heel. And of course, the spikes are on the ball of the foot. Sprint spikes have a lot less padding in the heel because when you're sprinting, almost all of your effort is going to be landing on the balls of your feet. There's really no heel action in a true sprinting environment. So, when you go to buy these, you can find them for about $40 to $65 at certain stores. So they are kind of expensive, but that really are imperative to your success as a track and field athlete. So that's another element. The only time at practice that I have my sprinters wear their spikes would be if we're working relay exchanges, so we're passing the baton, or if we are working out of the blocks. I'll have them put their spikes on if we're working relays or blocks. And then, of course, when we are working on field events like the high jump and the long jump, those are areas that I probably will have them wear their spikes to get a true feel of how many steps they're taking and the distance that they need to get to the board or to the bar. So track spikes, once again, that's something that you really want to have. I do have a few pairs that I could loan out, but I don't have that many. I have less than 5 pairs left, and they're all pretty large sizes. So if you're really having trouble, come and see me, and I can see if one of those would fit. Okay, definitely want to talk about having long sleeves, right? We want to have long sleeves, long sleeve tops, hooded sweatshirts in our bag. It's going to be cold. It's going to be the first week, 50, 45, 55, windy. So, anything can happen in the spring in Michigan. So we want to be prepared. You want to have cold weather gear in your bag. We want to layer up. We want to have as many layers as we can. We can always take layers off at practice. Okay, so that's the key. Of course, we want to have long tops, but also long bottoms, leggings, sweatpants, fleece pants, something that's going to keep the body warm. One of the big things for me is that you also want to be heavy. You want to be heavy until you're actually about to race. That weight, you're going to feel a big relief when you take that weight off and you can feel the wind and the fresh air. You're going to run faster. You're going to feel faster. And a lot of that is mental. But keeping yourself warm is key. It's about the inner core and the warm up. But if you're shivering because you're cold on the outer, that's going to be counterintuitive to your getting warmed up. So let's take a look at a couple other things I would say. Layer up, compression tops, mock turtlenecks, compression bottoms, things of that nature, I think would be something to have in your bag, especially for the first month. Okay, it's going to be cold out there on certain days. Athletic socks are important for support. I think that athletic socks are imperative. So you want to have, doesn't matter what color they are, as long as they're athletic socks, right? I would opt for the longer socks like you have over here on the right side of the screen for the early part. You're going to be doing a lot of pounding. A lot of your daughters are probably not used to the amount of running that they're going to do. And so that compression on the shin, that compression on the calf, that compression on the ankle, and the support on the foot is important. So this is one of my big suggestions. Number 8, so underneath all the layers, you want to have some shorts, some running shorts, and of course a t-shirt. So if it does get warm, then we can take those layers off and we can work out in the shorts and t-shirt. I don't think this will happen until April, but it's happened before in March. So, that's something to keep underneath as a layer. Definitely got to have the proper undergarments. A sports bra is important to have. So just making sure that every day we're having the proper items, the things that we need to be successful and to be able to practice without getting injured. That's really a key element there. Number 10, I'm being honest, it's going to be cold in March. So layer up a hat, running gloves, something like this that are kind of form-fitting, a running hat, something that's a little bit form-fitting around the head. And of course, some type of wind jacket may be good to put into the bag. We will go outside every day unless it's really inclement weather. Like if it's thundering and lightning, we'll be inside. If it's extremely cold, we'll go inside. But if we can get outside, we want to get outside. It's so much better. We always have the indoor track to fall back on, but it is only 3 lanes. So we have a big team, which is great. And so it kind of hampers us in upstairs in the indoor track. Okay. I want to make sure with COVID and we're still coming out of that, we're learning, everybody should probably have their own water bottle every day and make sure that it's full. So you want to be able to have your own water bottle. So we're not sharing squirt bottles and things like that. I think that's a thing of the past on athletic teams. So bringing your own water bottle. I do give the athletes quite a few water breaks. It's good to give them a little break. I want them to stay hydrated throughout the day. They really should be drinking about half their body weight in ounces of water at a bare minimum. Okay. That would be the key hydration suggestion there. Okay, special note. Every day, one of the things that I would suggest is that all of my track athletes start practice with wearing a long top, so long sleeves and long bottoms. Uh, this is a warm up. So I want them to have their sweats on for warm up. I call them their sweats on, their long bottoms, long tops. Even if it's 90 degrees outside, I want them with full tops and bottoms. I want them to get their body warm. I want them to feel heavy. And then when we're about to start the real part of practice, when we get to the workout part, then they can take those layers off and get light. And when we're about to run, I want them to feel light. So it's a lot of mental aspect there, but that's something that I really believe in. And if you watch a lot of the Olympic track athletes or college track athletes, you're going to see that. You're going to see them keeping their sweats on as long as possible until they get ready to run. The importance of practice. I talked about this a little bit earlier. I really want the athletes to be there every single day. So please just work with me. Let me know if they're not going to be there. Kind of let me know in advance. You can always send me a text or an email. I check those things quite often. So that's just kind of the communication. I really would like to see them every day for practice, even if they have to leave early. That's great. Come out, warm up with us, get any part of the workout that you can, and then leave when you have to. But being a part of a team, showing me that commitment, showing your teammates that commitment, that's really an important aspect. I do have some models and themes that I utilize as a teacher and as a coach. My first one is called the Be Here Now principle. Be Here Now is something that I use quite often in the classroom. It's a mental focus strategy. Basically, I want you to imagine your daughter going throughout her day. She has so many things floating around outside of her mind. Um, what I teach my students is that I teach history. So when you enter my classroom, I want you to imagine all of these little blocks that are floating around. I want you to take the one that says history, and I want you to pop it in your mind. When you leave the history classroom and you go to English class, you can pop history out and pop in English. And you need to be here now wherever you're at. So I can tell you, if you're thinking about track practice when you're in math class, you're not going to do very well in math class because you're not focused on the task at hand. Vice versa. If you're at track practice, but you're thinking about your history homework, well, then you're not going to be a champion that day because your mind is not mentally focused on the task. So being here now is something that they can apply to all aspects of life. I also teach them when they go home, when they're having a conversation with you, to be here now. Because let's face it, I think we know that life is short. And those conversations on a daily basis, just how was your day? Instead of blowing off your parents and hustling up to your room to check Instagram or get on Snapchat, take a few moments and have a good conversation with mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, whoever may be there with you. So that's a really important mental focus strategy that I teach my athletes and my students, and it works really well. It's going to be a motto for us this year. So the Be Here Now principle is focusing on the task at hand. When they come out to the track, when they come out onto the field for practice, I want them to pop in track and field and think about that and only that. And that's the way that I believe they will be champions. The next one is one that I'm going to implement this year because we're a new program. It's called the 401k work ethic. I'm sure that many of you have more experience with portfolios and investments than me. But one thing that I do know is that when you're thinking about 401k, your retirement is not built usually on one huge deposit. It's pennies, it's dollars put into that account over a long period of time. Thousands of very small deposits. That's the process that we're looking at. Each day at practice, it's doing those small details that build up the big picture. It's focusing on the form. It's focusing on the conditioning that are going to help you become a better athlete, help you become a better student in the classroom, focusing on the small details, taking those notes, doing those study procedures, and doing good things for others, showing that you care, listening to your friends, right? Those are ways that you are going to build relationships and become a better person. So 401k work ethic is making those small daily contributions, working hard at the small details to build up to the big picture. So we'll often talk about that. I really would like to put that on a shirt. People are going to say, well, what's 401k work ethic? That's exactly what we want. Let the student athletes explain it. Let them explain it to you. I'm going to try to teach them to the best of my ability, but I would like them to be able to reflect that back to others. Finally, subletter C here, I want to talk a little bit about grit. I want to develop young ladies at St. Mary's that have grit, that aren't afraid to take on challenges. I want them to overcome obstacles. I want them to be fearless. That's one of the things that was talked about when we started the girls division. We want to produce fearless young women that are ready to take on challenges of the real world. And so as a teacher and a coach, I feel like that is my duty. And so I want to develop mental and physical toughness within reason. And I want them to take on challenges. I want them to embrace challenges. I think that's really important in life. I see a lot of my students, boys and girls, that don't like challenges. I'm going to be honest with you. The first couple weeks of track are going to be a culture shock. Don't let your daughter quit the team. Quitting the team would be the worst thing that they can do. That just shows a lack of commitment, and it really weakens the stature. Because if you quit track, if you quit a class, it's going to become a possible bad habit. I'm not going to say that you quit something and it's the end of the world. I understand that. But it doesn't set the right precedent. When we start on Monday the 14th, I want to build that team and I want them to be there. I'm going to do everything in my ability to keep them out there. And I want them to keep showing up. That's the best thing that they can possibly do. Just keep showing up and good things are going to happen. Good things are going to happen if they invest in themselves. I'm going to invest in them. Our coaching staff is going to invest in them. So if they can continue to do that, I think that showing that grit, showing that work ethic is, of course, going to be a really big part of what we're trying to teach and preach here at St. Mary's. Okay, the schedule. Your important dates on the schedule that I'm going to show you here in a minute are in gray. And I'll also talk about how meet entries work as well. So we'll take a look at a few of those things here in just a moment. Okay, so here we are at the schedule. I've highlighted the most important meets in gray, but we have a couple of indoor meets on the 25th and the 26th. My goal in having the back-to-back meets is there's going to be a few runners that are going to participate in both, a few field event athletes that will participate in both. But really, what I'm trying to do is in those first two meets, I'm trying to get all of my athletes a chance to run, and I'm trying to get times on them. So everybody's going to participate if they're able to make it, which they should be. I'm going to have them timed. I'm going to get a good time for them in their respective event. So that's what I'm really trying to do there. And then I'll turn around on Tuesday the 5th and Wednesday the 6th. We've got outdoor meets. Once again, I want to give them a chance to run in those outdoor events and see what we have, see what our times are, give us a good initial time, and then build our improvement from there. The most important meets, and I'll give a copy of this to you in an email here soon, but the most important meets are Thursday, May 19th. That's the regional championship. That is the biggest meet of the year. That is the only meet that you can qualify for the state championship. And that's the big one. That is like it's bigger than the Catholic League Championship. It's every team that's in our region, in our division, which we're Division 4. We're going to be at Flint Beach or Community Track. That's the biggest meet of the year, and that starts at 3:00 on the 19th. So we'll take a bus there. We'll set up our tent, and track meets take a long time. If you have never been to a track meet, you know there's quite a few events, and they run for quite a bit of time. So they can bring their studies. We'll have some snacks for them. But, once they get through understanding how a meet works, they'll have a better understanding by this point in the year. The other great event is the Catholic League Cardinal Division Championship. So that's our league. And that takes place at Lutheran North is where it's going to be. I will change that soon, but that's going to be on the 25th. So if our girls, which I think we have a chance at, qualifying for the state championship in a couple of events. If our girls qualify at the regionals, the state championship meet usually takes place in Grand Rapids. Ours is yet to be determined, but that's going to take place on June the 4th. That would be the last possible meet that they could participate in. Okay, so what generally happens in track meets, I want to share with you. What's going to happen is I have to enter in what are called entries. So In certain events, like the 100-meter dash at most meets, I can enter 2 athletes. So I get to enter only 2. Other meets, I get to enter maybe 4 or 5. Some of them this year on the indoor, I can enter 6. So one of the things is that not all the girls will be able to run in every single meet. So I'll try to vary when they go and where they go. So I kind of announce it during the week who's going to be going to the meet. So you'll kind of have an idea. But the entries are usually due like 2 days before, and I have to enter them. So whoever I enter, I can't change it at that point. So once you're entered, I really need you to make sure that you come to that meet, because I can't switch it, which would not allow me to get another girl into that event for you. So it's really important that I communicate with you, and then you and the student athlete communicate with me if for some odd reason you wouldn't be able to make it to a meet. We really want to make it to all those meets. Okay. Finally, I would of course like to open up for any questions that you may have. Since this is a video and you're not seeing me live, I put my email address here, mlangle@stmarysprep.com. So if you have any questions after viewing this presentation, of course, feel free to email me, or you can use my phone number from what I gave to you in the, of course, the emails that I've been sending out to contact me. So if you have any questions or any concerns or any comments, please feel free to contact me. I'm looking forward to a great season, and I will meet you at some point in time. If you want to come out to practice, you're more than welcome to, just to say hello, introduce yourself so I can get to put a face with a name. I would love to do that. Once again, I hope that you have a wonderful season, enjoying the improvements and the athletic endeavors of your daughter. And I really appreciate you watching this video. Thank you, and God bless.